In this video, I'm going to present a detailed guide to Hyatt Hotel interview questions and answers and help you plan great answers to these questions. So let's look first at how you actually go about succeeding at a Hyatt Hotel's interview. Now, the first thing you need to do is make sure you are taking this interview seriously. And by watching this video, you're going to be well prepared for the interview. Then you need to adopt some formal dress and make sure that you are on time to the interview. If you're late, you're going to blow the whole interview. The next thing is make sure you have taken the time to study Hyatt Hotels. And in this video, I'm going to present to you the key facts about Hyatt's Hotels business that you need to know. And then you need to show that you meet Hyatt's needs. So in this video, we're going to talk about what they're looking for, and I'm going to show you how you can demonstrate that you're what they are looking for. The next thing you need to do is make sure you know what questions to expect, and this video will present the most common questions, and you need to have great answers ready to go. So by the end of this video, you will have strong answers to the most common questions. So let's look at one of the most important questions that they expect a good answer to, and that is, what do you know about Hyatt Hotels? And let's look at the facts that you're going to take to your interview. So the first thing you say is that they are an American multinational hospitality company. That is a short and simple way of describing their business. The next thing you can say is that they focus on the luxury and business segments of the market. They are both managed and franchised. So some of the Hyatt hotels are owned by the Hyatt Corporation and managed by them. Other ones are franchised, so the buildings are owned by someone else, but Hyatt may come in and manage them as part of a franchise agreement. So you need to be aware of that as a way the business works. They are a fast-growing company and historically have grown very well. They were founded, depending on how you look at it, in either 1954, which is where you can trace the first starting point of the company to, or 1957, where they really took off as Hyatt. The next thing you can talk about is that they were founded by Hyatt Robert Von Den and Jack Dyer Crouch. They were the original founders of the very first business, which was Hyatt House. They were basically a motel outside Los Angeles International Airport. And by 1957, Jay Pritzker of the Pritzker family got involved, and that's when the business really took off. They have recently acquired Apple Leisure that massively expanded their business and gave them about 30-odd thousand rooms and a new business avenue. They also operate other businesses alongside their hotel business, such as operating as a tour operator. So they have other businesses alongside hotels, but hotels are really the key business. You should know the Hyatt brands. So it's not just Hyatt. They own lots of brands, and there's different types of Hyatt. So make sure you're aware of which Hyatt brand you're actually applying to and what that brand markets itself as and how it's different to the other Hyatt brands. They have credit card partnerships and partnerships with airlines, and you need to research what those are. And they have a loyalty program. It's a good idea to understand how their loyalty program works, what the points are, and the current system, because that may change. So I would read about that. You should be aware of the fact that this is a family-controlled business currently, and it's the Pritzker family that control the business. They were voted and have been included in many lists of the best companies to work for, so it's a good idea to mention that. And if you're asked about why you want to work for the company, that is something you can discuss as well. A great idea would be to read Hyatt Hotels' annual report. I don't mean read every single word, just skim through it and have a look at their presentations. You often make presentations for investors that really helps you understand their business, what their focuses is, and what their strategy is. So I'd take some time to read those and say in your interview that you've read those. So feel free to take all the notes you need from this or to screenshot this slide so you've got the key facts that you can discuss at your interview to be well prepared for this. The next question that they like to ask is something around, tell me about how you would deal with a difficult or angry guest, or perhaps a complaint, or something where something has gone wrong, or even an irate customer. These are the sort of things they ask, and they want reassurance you're going to do the right thing. So the first thing you want to be really clear about is that I always provide excellent service to every guest. It doesn't matter that they're difficult or angry or they're complaining or they're causing you problems. You're going to provide great service to every guest, and you're going to be very, very clear about that. The next thing you say is that I will always remain calm, behave professionally, and positively represent the Hyatt brand. That is really reassuring for them to hear. Then you can say, I look to calm the situation down and show I'm actively listening to the guests and take their concerns seriously. So you're going to do the right thing there. Then you say, I look to proactively resolve any issues negatively affecting the guest experience to ensure a great experience. So your goal is that great experience, and anything that's getting in the way, you're going to deal with. You could say, I like to use the herd technique to deal effectively with challenging guests. And the herd technique is you hear, you empathize, you apologize, you resolve, and then diagnose. So if you just talk through that, you've really got a great answer to this. And then to basically sum it up, if you've got good previous experience, say, given my previous work experience, I'm highly confident in my ability to deal with challenging guests at Hyatt, and tell them about the jobs you've had in the past and that you've had lots of interactions with difficult customers, and this is something that you're good at, and be really confident, and you'll have a really great answer. So talk through this list, talk about the herd technique, and you have a really strong answer to this. The next question that they often ask that you have to deal with very sensitively and think carefully about is, what salary do you expect? Now, you don't want to price yourself out of a job, and you don't want to give them the idea that you would accept an offer that is unacceptable. So you want to be as vague as you can while still answering the question in a reasonable way. So the first thing to think about is that right now is not the best time to negotiate. They haven't decided that they want to employ you. When they've decided that you are the best person that they've interviewed all day and they want to hire you, you're in a much stronger negotiating position. When they've decided that you are the person they want, that is the time that you can negotiate. So you would rather negotiate your salary a little bit later when they're saying, we want you. Then you want to say you want to always avoid exact figures. So do not say, I'm looking for exactly this amount, because it might be too high, it might be too low. You don't know. You want that negotiation to happen a little bit later, ideally once they've given you an offer. You got to think about how experienced are you and what can you offer Hyatt. So if you've got really great experience that's better than most people, and that you can go into Hyatt and make a really great impact on their hotel, and you're really confident, then you might be thinking of a slightly higher end of the range. Or if you're already in a very competitively paid role, you may be taking that into consideration. You want to know typical salaries in your role. So you don't want to suggest a salary that is far beyond what anyone has ever paid in that role. So it's got to be realistic. Then again, if you say something that is lower than is typical for the role, then that could price you slightly lower, and you may get an offer that is lower than you would like. You want to check the advertisement. So ideally, they might have given a range on the advert. If they have, you know what the minimum and know what the maximum is. So you could say that you would be interested in offers within that range, and that perhaps given your experience, you might take the second half of that range. So you could use that range, but chop off the bottom end because you're highly experienced and you think that the low end of the range might not be acceptable to you. Remember, you don't want to take a job with a salary that is unacceptable to you, of course. The best way to sum up an answer is to say, I'd be very interested in salaries in the range of, and then pitch it within a reasonable range that is acceptable for that role and is also likely to be acceptable for the company. And that's how you survive this question. They often ask, particularly near the beginning of the interview, tell me about yourself. And this is a great opportunity, if you bother to do planning, to have a great answer. So I would really recommend that you bullet point or plan out or memorize a good answer so that you're ready to go and you can confidently talk about you in a way that will convince them that you're a good hire. So you got to think about the experience that Hyatt likes. What are they actually looking for? Think about qualities. So what would Hyatt Hotels want in an employee? And you want to tell them about yourself as someone that has the qualities they're looking for. And then you want to think about why this is the right job and convince them that joining Hyatt is the right thing for you and you're the right match for the company. So experience that they would like, obviously hotel experience, or any experience that is directly 100% relevant to the role. You talk about that first, and you talk about that more than your other experience. Then any hospitality experience where you have worked in a role with customers, with guests, that is great experience. Talk about that. Then, if you've got wider experience, that is good. If you've got great hotel and hospitality experience, talk about that a lot. But once you've talked about that, bring in and say, I've also got experience. I've done these completely different things that maybe are not like working in a hotel. They're totally different, but you can bring that experience to the company. You can bring a new perspective, and all the things that you learned in these varied jobs that can enhance you as a candidate. Show off what you learned in each role. So when you're saying, I worked in this hotel, talk about what you actually did. What did you learn? What training were you given? What mentoring were you given? What different roles in the hotel did you perform? how can you show them that you're good at those jobs, and talk about being good at those jobs and all the things you learned. If you've got qualifications or certifications, definitely mention them. Say what qualifications you have. Any qualifications, it's a good idea to mention them because that's something that is going to work in your favor. Then qualities. So say that you're highly reliable and that in all roles that you've had in the past, you're on time and you can be trusted and relied on. That is a good thing to say if it's true and you can back it up. Say that you've got a great track record. If you have a really strong CV and you've got really good references from previous employers and that you are someone that is trusted and you do work really well and you can talk about your career as being quite successful in whatever role that you've got, just say that you've got a great track record if you can back that up. That you're knowledgeable about the hotel industry. And if you say that, be prepared for follow-up questions potentially. If you're claiming to be knowledgeable, make sure you actually are. But if you're applying for a job in a hotel, that is a good idea to have that knowledge. Say that you're very well organized, that you're a real team player, and that you help out your colleagues, you work together, and you're a great asset to any team. That you're pleasant and approachable, especially if you're working in a guest-facing role. That you are friendly. That you're well liked by guests and you've had positive reviews in the past. If you can back that up, that you've got some sort of evidence that shows that you're good at working with guests, you're good at working in a hotel, any evidence that you can say in this answer is going to make it even stronger. Then we think about why this is the right job. So you can say that I'm excited by the opportunity to join a great company like Hyatt and talk about why you really like Hyatt. Maybe you've stayed there. Maybe you really like the brand. That there's something about Hyatt that attracts you. Perhaps you like the idea that it's a family-controlled business and that it's got a great culture, for example. You can say things like that. Then say that you love working in hospitality or hotels. Be really passionate about this. So you can say that this is the right place for me. And you could say something like, I feel I could build a great career here at Hyatt. You're probably applying to an enormous hotel that you could have an entire career at this hotel and move through the different roles in the hotel and potentially be very successful. There's going to be great opportunities for hardworking, high-performing people within a big organization like Hyatt. So definitely have a good, strong answer thought out. Talk about each of the things on the list. Actually think about what you're going to say, and you're going to be really well prepared for this. They often ask questions about times that you can work. So they might say, can you work evenings, weekends, overnight? And really the best answer is to acknowledge the reality of working in a hotel and then answer the question directly. So you could say something like, I understand that in the hotel industry, evening, weekend, overnight work is required. That's a nice thing to say because managers have to staff hotels 24 hours a day and they need people that can work perhaps the times that are a little bit more awkward. That's what they need to run an effective business. So they want open-minded people that understand that working in a hotel is not an easy job. It's a difficult, hard job, and sometimes the hours are not particularly great. The next thing you can say is, I'm happy and available to work these hours when required. That is what they want you to say. And you've got to remember, if they decide in their interview planning that they want to ask every single person this question, they ask this because they need this. If they are asking every single person they're interviewing for the job, can you work overnight? They are interested in people working overnight, and the candidates that say no are probably not going to come top of their list. So just be aware, any question that asks about a time, they have that time in mind. That is what they want. And if you're telling them that you can't do what they want, then you're not looking like a great hire. So my strong advice is you want to do your absolute best to say yes to any of these sort of questions. Hopefully, they could ask a question like, when can you start? But don't think this is basically saying we're going to offer you the job. They could be asking this to every single person. So just have one ready. There's two good answers to this, and you can pick the one that's most appropriate. Ideally, you want to show as much flexibility as you can. That's the stronger answers. So reiterate your interest in the job. So say, I am, of course, very interested in this Hyatt role and could start at your earliest convenience. That's a great answer. If you already have a job that means you couldn't immediately start, you could say something like, I'm very interested in this Hyatt role and I could start immediately after completing my notice period, which is, and tell them how many weeks, days, or whatever you need to work before you could leave your employer, and research that, find that out before the interview and have that number ready to go. Because it's not a good idea to say, I'm already employed and I have a notice period, but I don't know what it is. Find it out and know it for the interview. The next one is, why are you leaving your last job? This is a sensitive question. You want to be brief. You don't want to talk about why you're leaving for a very, very long time, and you want to focus on the positives of this job. And my top tip is don't dig yourself a hole. One of the mistakes that people get into is they say, I'm leaving my company because, and then they start saying lots and lots of bad things, and then they keep saying bad things, and then they start revealing all of these unpleasant, undesirable things about them that are going to be perhaps misunderstood or misinterpreted, and they just dig this hole that it's very difficult to get out of. And then you get follow-up questions about, well, why did that happen? And what did you do about that? And then you end up getting all flustered and it just goes all to pieces. So let's keep it short and think about what things you do say and what things you don't say. Keep it simple, short, snappy answers. You don't want lots of follow-up, and you want to get through this as quick as possible. So things to say and things to avoid. So good reasons is promotion opportunity. If your last job was lower than this job, this is a great reason why you're going to leave that job. You've got an opportunity for promotion. Talk about the positives of Hyatt. So you're leaving your last job because you want to work for Hyatt potentially, that you're seeking a new challenge. You're looking to take on more responsibility and you're going to get it here. Maybe you're relocating with family. Your family's moving from, say, one city to another city, or you're relocating to be closer to a family member. That's why you had to leave your last job. You may have loved your last job, been very successful there, very happy, and they really like you, and you're a great employee, and it's a great shame that you're leaving, but you're just going to have to move, and this job is in the right location. They don't want to lose me, so say some idea that the company actually likes you, that you're leaving that job, but you could go straight back, that they would want you as an employee. You could say something, I still love my last job, but I'm so excited about joining Hyatt. That you may be returning from a career break, or you've had to take some time off to care for family and you're now re-entering the workforce. That's a perfectly good reason to have left your last job. And then if your last job wasn't great and there was some issues there, a phrase you might use is that Hyatt is a better fit for my skills, and try and back that up. There are certain things that you must not say. Do not say things that suggest that you're a bad employee or that you hated your job. That's one of the worst things you can say. Don't start attacking management because you're being employed by management, because they're going to listen to what you've got to say and think, well, you're going to come here, cause loads of problems, and then you're going to go to some other employer and tell that employer how awful we are. So why are we going to employ you? Management don't like to be listening to other managers being criticized and attacked in interviews. Don't talk about conflict or falling out or disagreement. Don't start moaning and complaining they didn't like me, always being criticized. I didn't get a promotion. Maybe they didn't promote you because you're not good enough for that role. That's what they're going to think. That might not be true. You might have absolutely deserved those promotions. But if you're negative and down, it doesn't look very good. It looks very bitter and it will harm your chances. So focus on the good reasons. Don't dig yourself a hole. Be brief and don't say anything on those bad lists, and you will get through this question. Before we finish, here's some great questions that you could ask at the end of a Hyatt Hotels interview. They're going to ask, do you have any questions? And the answer to that needs to be yes. So you could say, what do you personally like most about working at Hyatt, and what originally attracted you to join Hyatt Hotels? Find out why they wanted to work here, what's great about working here, and share in their enthusiasm. You could say, could you kindly describe the next steps in the hiring process at Hyatt, including a timeline for feedback? You want to know when you're going to find out if you're going to get this job. And if you do find out and you haven't got it, can you get some feedback? Can you actually learn and improve and know what to work on? You could say, what are your main priorities in improving and developing this hotel, and how could I contribute in my role? So the management of the hotel say, we're looking to improve this, we're looking to work on this. And you can basically say, well, if I was employed, I could help you with this, I could do this, I've got experience in doing this, I've seen other hotels that struggle with this, and here's some ideas that they used. And you can have this really positive conversation that is helping management achieve their goals. And if you're going to help them do better at their job, you look like a good hire for them. Then you could say something like, could you tell me more about the team you developed at this Hyatt location and how my role would fit in? Or you could ask, what training, progression, and professional development opportunities could be potentially available in my role over the next 3 to 5 years? So you're giving a hint that this could be a long-term career and that you're ambitious and you care about your development. And that's a good thing to do. Things that they don't want to hear is, don't ask about transferring to another hotel. They're trying to employ at this hotel. You're being employed by the management of, or rather interviewed by the management of that hotel. They don't want you talking about what you're going to do when you're leaving to go somewhere else, even if it's within Hyatt. Don't ask about delaying start date. That's very negative. Negotiating pay or asking about how much time off you get, because you're applying for a job. You're not applying for time off. That's not appropriate for an interview. So stay away from those sort of questions. I wish you the best of luck in your Hyatt interview. Please post in the comments what questions Hyatt asked you so people can see some other questions that may come up. Please like and subscribe if it was helpful. And finally, thank you very much for watching.